Okay, today we're gonna take a look at We the People News, the intro, and then the first video. So this is for Sunday, I believe, the 4/13/25. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, so We the People News, WTPN situation update for 4/13/25. Fauci and his COVID conspirators pursued for murder and other charges. So I know Missouri is one of those states where I'm from. Biden administration trafficked over 500,000 children into the U.S. Iran ready to negotiate on nukes. 107 restored a republic and other news. So I know they're going to talk about in this video that they report 800,000 kids go missing in the US each year. I believe it's 1 to 2 million plus because it's always a low number that's reported. And then I think it's over 10 million around the world. So I'm going to say over 2 million in the US and then over 10 million worldwide. So let's check that out and we'll see what you think. But you can research that.
Weaponized, not with missiles, but with information.
Let me say first off that this is a court of inquiry. It's not an adversarial court. It's a nonprofit educational event. And with enormous energy and intelligence, all of us have been brought together to try to bring out some of the aspects. So if I may, I have prepared an overview statement based on my work these many past weeks. And I want to just say that as a parent and as a patriot, I'm absolutely outraged by what we're allowing to happen to our children. Humanity is judged on how you treat the weakest member of the society. These children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world. It's also the use of children for harvesting body organs. We'll have the Falun Gong testimony tomorrow. And then you have ritual ceremonies and ritual murder, as well as incidental murder.
Hi Patriots, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your support of this channel. And if you'd like to make a donation, there's a Stripe link in the description. And with that said, let's start the show. Hello Patriots, I'm at Restored Republic via a GCR update for Sunday, April 13th, 2025, compiled by Judy Byington. Trump's tariffs are forcing a global currency reset and saving the world economy from financial implosion. John F. Kennedy Jr., Restored U.S. Republic VP on Telegram. Where has all the U.S. taxpayer money gone? Laundered back into corrupt politicians' pockets? The U.S. sent $2.7 trillion in Medicare and Medicaid funds overseas to ineligible recipients. The blue states of California, New York, and Massachusetts handed out $382 million in unemployment funds to 1-year-olds, people born in 2154, and to 24,500 115-year-olds. Findings of Trump must Doge audit, April 2025. Where have all the children gone? To feed politician and global elites sick addictions to Satan worship, the Vatican regularly funnels children through international pedophile rings to Satan-worshiping, child-sacrificing businessmen, politicians, and European royal families. Findings of ICLCJ Court in Brussels, May 2014. Judy note, for big bucks, the Vatican and their drug cartels regularly funnel children through international pedophile rings to Satan-worshiping businessmen, politicians, and members of European royal families, according to victim testimonies 11 years ago at the International Common Law Court of Justice in Brussels. Beginning in May 2014, more than 34 eyewitnesses gave their depositions to the ICLCJ court about their childhood sexual abuse and forced participation in child sacrifices by these global elites of the Ninth Circle satanic child sacrifice cult. 5 international court judges considered evidence against Ninth Circle cult members, including the trial's chief defendant, Pope Francis, plus former Pope Ratzinger and Queen Elizabeth. In 2013, the same ICLCJ court found Queen Elizabeth and Pope Ratzinger guilty of crimes against humanity and issued arrest warrants against them. A European mafia known as Octopus or 'Ndrangheta was said to make considerable money by securing drugs and children for the upper echelons of Pope Francis's Catholic and Queen Elizabeth's Anglican churches, royal family members, and European, Canadian, Australian, and U.S. politicians and corporate heads. The Catholic Church is clearly the largest baby traffickers in human history, making billions each year by selling Catholic newborns to orphanages, foster agencies, and undisclosed parties. Antonio Barrero testified before 5 judges of the ICLCJ court. In Spain alone, between 1940 and 1980, the Catholic Church reaped over $20 billion by trafficking more than 300,000 children. The now Pope Francis organized the marketing of those more than 30,000 children of Argentine political prisoners. According to ICLCJ court witnesses identified only as number 32, in the 1970s and 80s, the witness was a former Argentine civil servant who was present in meetings between the now Pope Francis and the junta military during Argentine's dirty war. The court recessed to do further research after the ICLC court chief prosecutor professed a link between the British, Dutch, and Belgian royal families and disappearances and killing of Mohawk children at Queen Elizabeth's Church of England or Anglicans' Brantford Indian residential schools in Ontario, Canada. The 'Ndrangheta syndicate obtains its child fodder through its deep involvement with the child-snatching Roman Catholic Church and top Vatican officials. A radical party member of the Italian Parliament, Matteo Macio, told Kevin Annett of the ICLCJ court, the modern mafia are the same people who run the Catholic Church and Italian government. They are indistinguishable. They are all in the same club. Their main concern is their assets, which come from organized crime, drugs, arms, dealing, and human trafficking. Crime pays, and nothing pays as well as selling human beings, especially children, Annette said. Last month, I was contacted by a retired Dutch lawyer whose former husband is a member of the criminal syndicate that provides the children and adolescents used in Ninth Circle ritualistic hunting parties in Belgium. I'll call her Josephine. According to Josephine, in the springs of 2000 and 2004, her ex-husband, along with Octopus members, provided 10 children and adolescents who were then stripped naked, let loose, hunted down, killed, and mutilated by wealthy men in forests near Oudergem, Belgium. She was told the victims were kids from the juvenile detention centers in Brussels. The global elite killers were thought to be members of the Ninth Circle and included Prince Friso of Holland, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte, and Prince Albert of Belgium. Satan worshippers are known to think that certain numbers have mystical qualities. Notice their use of the number 10 when you choosing their victims. After they shot down the 10 young ones, they cut off the boys' penises, held them up like trophies, cheering and applauding. According to last year's ICLCJ court findings, on October 10, 1964, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip took 10 children around the age of 10, there's 10, from the Kamloops Residential School in British Columbia. Their native parents haven't seen them since. The Kamloops School closed in 1978, though a child mass gravesite was not discovered on the Kamloops School grounds until last year. Since 2008, Queen Elizabeth and the Canadian government have refused NET's ITCCS continuous requests for excavation of 34 child mass grave sites discovered on some of the 80 native residential school grounds across Canada. Vatican and European royal family members of the Ninth Circle were said to have scheduled child sacrifices for August 15, 2014, and on the new moon in September 2014 at the Carnarvon Castle in Wales, Balmoral Castle in Scotland, and Marie Reine du Monde Catholic Cathedral in Montreal, Canada. The court was presently in recess while evidence was being gathered in hopes the 5 judges and 27 jury members could reach a verdict by this fall. Because of the large amount of victims coming forward to testify about Ninth Circle activities, more indictments were expected to follow. A third international court was planned for next year, 2015. Last year's 2013 ICLCJ court found 40 global elites guilty in the disappearance of over 500,000 Native Canadian children. A few days later, Pope Ratzinger resigned from his office. Evidence presented at last year's court could be found in Annette's book, Hidden No Longer. The ICLCJ International Court has over 450 common law peace officers in 13 countries with 51 local chartered groups operating. Wednesday, July 16, 2014. We have a link to an article before its news. Eyewitnesses testify Vatican, drug cartels trafficking children to Satan-worshipping pedophiles of royal families, corporate heads, and politicians.
All right, let's take a look at, let's go back to the beginning of this again. I just want to see the date when it started. Okay, so these were, this meeting was April 16th through 18th, 2018. All right, so I'm going to go back. If we watched about 10 minutes of that We the People news video, but there's a link down here for David Steele. Okay, so let's check this out. Robert David Steele and Sasha Stone, I believe. Okay, so this is the Chief Counsel, Robert David Steele, former CIA at the International Tribunal for National Justice, speaks on child trafficking, adrenochrome, and torture of children. And Sasha Stone, I think, grew up in a elite family. I believe he was in rock bands and stuff like that. And he speaks a lot about trafficking as well. So you can find him as well. But let's watch this video. Not too long, it's about 50. Okay, so 2018, April 2018.
Let me say first off that this is a court of inquiry. It's not an adversarial court. It's a nonprofit educational event. And with enormous energy and intelligence, all of us have been brought together to try to bring out some of the aspects. So if I may, I have prepared an overview statement based on my work these many past weeks. And I want to just say that as a parent and as a patriot, I'm absolutely outraged by what we're allowing to happen to our children. Humanity is judged on how you treat the weakest member of the society. Let me say that although pedophilia, which says child love, has nothing to do with the abuse of children, These children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture, because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world. It's also the use of children for harvesting body organs. We'll have the Falun Gong testimony tomorrow. One of the reasons that the Falun Gong are so popular is because they're so healthy, so that you can harvest their body organs and get the very best. And then you have ritual ceremonies and ritual murder, as well as incidental murder. I have been a spy. I'm out from undercover. I'm under a lifetime secrecy agreement. I absolutely tell you without doubt, I have no secrets that I can remember. If when I go to Iran soon, they can torture me, there's nothing there for them to get. But I know the system. I've been a spy all over the world. I have created the Marine Corps Intelligence Command. I have trained intelligence and law enforcement representatives, over 8,000 of them from across 66 countries. They're all, without exception, good people trapped in a bad system. And one of the most wonderful things that this court could achieve, now that we've had Pizzagate, for example, which opened people's mind, is we could achieve an opening of the public mind and an absolute imperative from the public to governments, including the U.S. government, which I think is the center of gravity in so many ways. I have found in my research in preparation for this court and all of the work that will follow, that most organizations that end up being used to prey on children, Oxfam is a recent example, all of the United Nations organizations, the Boy Scouts of America, all of the child services agencies across the United States of America, they did not start out as organizations to prey on children, but they attract pedophiles. And ultimately, pedophiles end up rising in the ranks and controlling those organizations, so that an organization that initially started out in the service of children becomes an organization that is in fact hunting children. And one of our distinguished commissioners has written an absolutely wonderful book called Child Hunters, which I recommend to all of you as a brief on this. Governments are letting us all down. And I absolutely agree with the commissioner who brings forward the need to restore the sovereignty of we the people, because governments have become not only bureaucratized, but they are now the servants of the deep state, of the banks. And if I may, the deep state is not the same as the shadow government. As I say, every organization is 90% good people trapped in a bad system. It's the highest 10% that is generally the rogue killer element. The shadow government is generally politicians. I won't speak to England, but in the United States of America, we have a two-party tyranny, which disenfranchises 70% of the public. And so they run this chimera of an election process. One of the problems with computers is they're too easily manipulated. In the United States of America, elections are decided before the first vote is cast. The electronic voting machines are essentially fraudulent machines, just as computers can record a fraudulent judgment that sticks with you forever, or make a child vanish. I am concerned because most of these organizations dealing with children don't have counterintelligence protection. They're not vetting the people that are moving up in the ranks, and the government is allowing that to happen. So what you have essentially is the pedophiles generally appear to be the most wonderful, sociable people. You know, let Sally sit on Uncle John's lap because he's such a loving uncle. Unbeknownst to people, Uncle John is actually a predator. We're not doing the counterintelligence at the local level, the province level, or the national level. It's absolutely essential that we begin to talk about this openly and while we are not a law enforcement commission, we can in fact turn information over to law enforcement. And I believe we will render a signal service to the people of Great Britain and to other countries by being a magnet for information. It's been my experience that when you put out one piece of free information, it attracts 100 pieces of information from others, of which 10 are priceless. So there's a 10-to-1 return on investment. And this commission seeks to create an online library and some other things that I'll talk about in a moment. And I believe we will serve as a magnet, a hub, a catalyst for a new emerging global consciousness about pedophilia and all of its aspects. There is great cause for alarm. There are two great causes for alarm beyond the actual fact of pedophilia and its existence, which, as His Grace has pointed out, has gone on for centuries. First, the elite appear to be seeking to infect local and provincial law enforcement officers with a taste for pedophilia. There appears to be a very deliberate attempt to push this interest in pedophile movies, including movies that include bestiality. I'm very concerned because we're seeing some snuff movies now, and we're seeing some movies in which military war dogs are raping children, including toddlers. And these movies may have come out of the American occupation of Afghanistan and the boredom of U.S. Army and Marine Corps troops, where in Afghanistan, pedophilia is common. It's a standard practice at the village level. But military war dogs plus common pedophilia and video cameras, which every U.S. soldier and Marine has, is a very, very toxic combination. And I'm seeing direct evidence that that is one of the most horrible things that's come out of Afghanistan in recent years. Now, let me also tell you that we have a second concern, and the witness has really most magnificently outlined asset stripping. The core message from this asset stripping is that the same machine that strips children from families strips wealth from those who are being preyed upon. Not just whistleblowers, but, as we'll hear on Wednesday, husbands stupid enough to try and hide their money by moving it offshore so that they don't have to share with their wife. What husbands do when they turn over their money to intermediaries who are part of this system is mark themselves as a target. They might as well paint a target on their forehead because they have now become prey for a system that recognizes people who are asking to be made destitute. Now, it's not my working assumption, but the working assumption yet to be proven that the totality of the children disappearing worldwide is toward 8 million people, toward 8 million children. In the United States of America, the acknowledged number, not counting the children being bred without birth certificates, not counting the children being imported without documentation, is between 600 and 800,000 a year. Now imagine Africa and East Asia and all these other locations. I personally believe that the number we want to try to document is rising well beyond the official figures, and we have yet to learn what the actual number is, okay? The other working assumption is how long do these children survive within this system? What I am hearing from the witnesses that I've talked to is 2 years. It may be longer. It may be 4 years, it may be 6 years, but by and large, these children are so abused. I mean, we're talking rapes by the hour and so forth, that they reach their expiration date within 2 years. And then they're murdered with impunity, or they're ritually murdered if that's what they've been bred for. So I think we need to document this. No one else has done this before in a systematic manner. This commission is rendering a signal service by seeking to do an overall view in the public interest. This will be a massive, massive undertaking. And while the preliminary attempt is to do a 6-month to 9-month endeavor, subject to funding availability and the availability of witnesses and also prisoners, there are a number of prisoners who can be debriefed, who, when properly debriefed by specialists, can really give a deeper understanding that has not been achieved by existing law enforcement and other agencies, because they simply treat these people when they catch them, in those rare instances when they catch them, as disposable goods to be thrown into prison and forgotten about. And tomorrow we will have some expert testimony from one of our commissioners who can speak to this far, far better than I. William Binney is my counterpart. He is for NSA what I am to CIA, which is to say, he is saying, as I am saying, that we can delete 70% of our respective organizations and put the other 30% to work. But Binney is also the author of Thin Thread, which is a way of doing deep discovery in unstructured databases and the internet. And so he is prepared to actually help us do pedophilia tracking worldwide. And one of the things that the other technical commission, Stephen Arnold, is very good at is de-anonymizing the internet. This includes every image having a fingerprint. So you can take an image of a child being abused, and you can track that image through the dark web. So there are resources that we can bring to bear in support of this commission's mission. My favorite technical commission is Arno Reuser from the Netherlands, who is a master librarian. He is so good that when the Dutch intelligence community realized it didn't know enough about the world, they recruited him to create the Open Source Intelligence Center for Dutch intelligence. And as with the endeavors that I helped create in the United States, and in fact for Scotland Yard, very quickly people found out that they could get 40 to 60% of what they knew very cheaply using open sources of information. That's not what government intelligence agencies do today. They want to spend as much money as possible in the riskiest way possible on the most expensive way possible. They're not actually there to do decision support or answer questions. So I believe that Arno Reuser is capable of creating the world's first digital library on pedophilia. And this would be a multilingual library to include local dialects. And it would be a library that would then end up being what we call a magnet for walk-ins. We want to have a very professional ingestion system so that people can volunteer to provide expert witness to the thing, or they can volunteer to offer up their papers. There are a number of pedophiles now who are actually ready to turn over their diaries. All right, so I think we're actually doing something really, really huge. My final comment. The center of gravity for taking down the deep state. Pedophilia is both the induction glue. Pedophilia is how the deep state recruits and controls people. It is also the Achilles heel of the deep state. I believe that once the public realizes that the government is not protecting their children at a scale of vulnerability that we can articulate, then everything else about the government is called into question. All right? So for me, this is a truly righteous endeavor. And I will end by saying that as much good as it might do to get the British angry, for me, the center of gravity for change is the American public. Because if you can get the American public angry, we will stop supporting dictators overseas. We will close all of our military bases overseas. I am on record as a former CIA operations officer saying that our 1,000 bases overseas are not there for national defense. They're there to serve as lily pads for the smuggling of guns, gold, cash, drugs, and small children. So let me say I am proud to be in your company, and I believe that no matter what we do or do not do, it is going to make a difference. God bless you all.
We are the power behind the ITNJ. Add your voice. Sign the treaty.
Okay, one thing he said, the average life expectancy of a child caught in that system is 2 to 7 years. That's what my research shows. So he's right. I mean, the abuse is so terrible. It's 2 years, and then I guess if the kid's lucky, they may live up to 7 years, but it's definitely short. Okay, I just wanted to show you that. I came across that yesterday. So if you want to check out the rest of We the People news, you can. It was for Sunday, 4/13/25.